And I love myself just the way I am. One more time inside. I love myself just the way I am.
Thank you, and thank you, Emily. Now you might wonder, on Valentine's weekend, where love is present all around us with pink and red and chocolate. Anyone had a little chocolate this week? Yeah, I've had a lot. Why would I talk about forgiveness? So, why forgive? Now, it does feel good because forgiveness opens us up to more love. It goes hand in hand. If we forgive fully, we have the power of love. Come on in, folks. So, I don't know about if you knew this, but Maya Angelou, the great poet, she found unity in her life. And she loved unity because it went along with her sensibilities, and her poetry is magnificent. And here she says, it's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself to forgive. Forgive everybody. This is important. Because if we want change in the world, what do we need to do? Start with ourselves. Thank you. Good truth student there. It's good because she's on this road to be a licensed unity teacher. We have to do it for ourselves. That song that we just sang, it happens within us. Now, I don't know, every time you come on Sunday, it seems like it's always an inside job. But that's why we come together, to explore what it is we can do right now to bring forth that wisdom. So, it is a gift. Anytime we give ourselves the gift to forgive, we have more love. So, Scripture, it's in our Scripture all over the place, but I love this one, Matthew chapter 18, verse 21 to 22. Then Peter came and said to him, Lord, if my brother and sister sins against me, how often should I forgive? As many times as 7? And Jesus said to him, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. Now, Jesus was a great teacher. And what this means to me, we don't need to even calculate what 7 times 70 is. It just means just keep forgiving. It's the balance of our life to just keep forgiving. And when we think we've forgiven enough, forgive again. It truly is. And it's a gift. Because unforgiveness, we know what unforgiveness is. Unforgiveness is the shame, it's the disappointment, it's the resentment, it's the anger, it's the righteous indignation. It's all that shadow stuff that gnaws at our wholeness, that brings us into depression, that brings us into frustration, that we lose self of our true identity. So why forgive? So we don't spend any more time in that pain than possible. Now, Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, wrote a lot about forgiveness. And here she says, forgiveness is not silent consent. The negative appearance of making the best of a situation while underneath there's a resentment. Know what I mean? Yes, forgiveness is the art of putting something else in the place of the thing forgiven. Now, having forgiveness, I'll let go. I'm not going to forget. I'll let go of it. But if we're holding on to a resentment, we're not really forgiving. We're just saying a platitude. Real forgiveness requires us to truly let go. It doesn't mean condoning the behavior. But if we're still having a resentment because that kid kicked us when we were 5 years old, who's the one experiencing the pain? Oh, so many years ago. For some of us, that only maybe a couple of years, but for others, it might be like a couple or more decades. Who hurt? There's that adage that unforgiveness is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to get sick. Does that make sense? And we've all done it. We all have unforgiveness. And sometimes we hold on to that because we're right. But it doesn't help us. That's why this forgiveness is an inside job. And when we let ourselves approach any one of those unforgiveness, acknowledge it, embrace it, and give it to God. I release you. I no longer carry this judgment against you. You're free. I'm free. And that moment opens up a space of love. Because if we truly forgive that person, all of a sudden we can love them. Love them more deeper than we did before. And we have examples of those people who've given you the wonderful curriculum of hate and anger. I have my older brother, to thank for that. I had years of curriculum slamming down the phone, not once, but twice and 3 times. Because I knew I was right. But when I truly forgave him, let go of the history, let go of the beatings, let go of the shame and the guilt, I have a relationship with him I didn't know was possible. We talk and listen and share. It's beautiful. It's love. I have a loving relationship with my brother. But for most decades of my life, it was pure hate. Because I was right. And the one who had to do the work was me, myself, and I. What examples in your life, like me, where I truly forgave my brother and now we have a loving relationship? What examples do you have? Yes.
I have the same with my brother. He hurt me and my mother. Mm-hmm. And it was hurt and I was angry. The same. But now, still difficult.
Still difficult, yes. But there's progress.
Yes. We can talk on the phone. Mm-hmm. And it makes my mother happy.
Yes. So a relationship with a brother that's been very tense, and it's still not perfect, but they can talk. That's good. That's good. Yes, Pete.
My father, he's already been back home, but sometimes I was doing some breathing work, and it was, and it came up, and so I did this forgiveness thing, in the future. And it made all the difference in the world how I have a relationship with my father now.
Yes.
So it's kind of amazing, you would think if someone passed, you go, well, I don't need to have a thing anymore, but you really did.
Yes. It doesn't matter. This is, his father has passed, but by doing the breath work and the forgiveness, he has a relationship with his father that he didn't have before, even though his father isn't in the physical. And trust me, forgiving that 5-year-old, they may be in the world, but I don't have I don't send them a Christmas card. But I can do that work regardless of whether the person's there or not. That's a great example. Yes, Deb.
Well, my mother and I always kind of struggled. She wanted me to be a certain way, and I wasn't. And so, but at the end of her life, she couldn't live by herself anymore. And so I moved her in with me. And during that period of time, I just saw a different mother. And maybe it's because the roles had reversed. But I'm so grateful I had that time because she passed. She lived with me about 6 months. And she passed, and when she passed, we had a great relationship. We had a very good relationship. And a lot of it had to do with me changing my view of her.
Yes.
Yes.
So a difficult relationship with her mother through her whole life. And towards the end of her life, she invited her to live with her in her own home. And in that opportunity, she got to see her mother in a different way, change her belief about her mother, and it changed the relationship. That's beautiful. Yes, Maria.
I have 2 brothers, and always had very good relationships with them. But one of them did something that really hurt my feelings, and for a while I had a hard time letting go. But then I realized that my mother, who is in heaven, wouldn't have liked that we stayed at that we got at each other's throats. So to honor my mom, I had to forgive my brother.
Yes. So her brother and two brothers, they had a great relationship, and then one brother did something very hurtful, and so there's a rift. And Maria felt that it was time to heal that rift, that her mother who had passed on would want them to be loving with each other and let go of those things. That's very beautiful. Kathy, the last one here.
One of my older sisters, we were like 2 different families, younger kids and 2 older sisters who, they were in college by the time, we were in the family. And one of them, that sister, very judgmental, and sure she knows the right thing to do, but I don't even let her judgment, but she still has them. Man, but it's just amazing to me. I don't hear it the same way. And I thought of her only because she's coming to spend 3 nights with me, starting tonight. And I did sweep my floor and mop my floor. But you know what? I'd have done that for any company. So it wasn't because I was worried about whether she would like my house. But it's just amazing relationship. I moved back to Texas because of my siblings, and I have never regretted it. And this is our hometown. I lived here. I wasn't here for 40 years before I moved back. So there's a lot of family history in this town.
That's beautiful. So a family where there was younger and older siblings, and one sister who's very judgmental, and over time and using these tools, she's able to let go of, she's still judgmental, but her ability to hear it is different. It's not attached to battling it. And that sister's coming tonight for 3 nights to visit. So it is truly a blessing when we can allow our forgiveness to create a space for love. It truly is. Mark Anthony Lord is a Unity minister, and he's written some wonderful books. And he says, forgiveness, when called upon, washes away every story, every hurt, every fear, and every belief in separation. It is the most transcendent and transcending spiritual practice I know of. And I have to agree with him. Our master teacher Jesus said, forgive 70 times 7. And love yourself. And love your neighbor. And love God. And that journey is to come to the reality that we're all one. We're all in this together. And when someone upsets us, they had a bad day. I've had a couple of bad days. Occasionally. Let's give everyone a long leash. Let's give a little extra space. They're doing the best they can with the day they've got. I'm doing the best I can with the day I've got. And self-forgiveness is a big part of this process. You know, being able to look in the mirror and say, I love you. I'm sorry. It's okay. All those judgments about not being tall enough or not being thin enough or not being smart enough or creative enough or musical enough or the enoughs. Anyone got any of those enoughs? Yeah. It's part of the journey. And the way to transcend it is to forgive. To let go of judgment and fear and return to love. And to bring this talk to a close, I turn to the wonderful wisdom of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And here he says, we must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power of love. If you think about it, when you've been in righteousness, the little love light is not on. You can either be in unforgiveness or in love. We can't do both. And the more we forgive, the more love we have of ourselves and others. It makes for a great life. And so why forgive? Because we want a good life. We want it to be more peaceful. We want to set our head on the pillow at night and easily go to sleep and wake up rested and renewed. So our personal exploration this week, first question, how can I practice self-forgiveness today? Just you'll know. There'll be some bubble up. How can you forgive yourself today? The second one is, where am I perceiving myself as a victim? Whenever there's a perpetrator, we have some forgiveness work to do. If we projected anything outside us, the truth is all events outside of us are neutral. It's how do we react or respond to things. Our experience is all ours. What we feel, what we think, and who we are is what we choose. And the third one is I choose to free myself by forgiving myself and others. When it comes up, I forgive it and let go. When it comes up, I forgive it and let go. When I'm reminded or or I'm shocked, or I'm jaggled, or niggled, or angry, or frustrated, I let go. It's a spiritual journey, and it's not over until it's over. But the rich thing about the spiritual journey is that we can experience more of God, more love with each other by simply forgiving and loving some more. And that's the answer to why forgive. Thank you.
Put a little love in your